Okay, thank you, Aiman, and very good morning to everyone. It's good to see some familiar faces, some alumni, old colleagues. So today, we are all talking about business transformation. How many of you are from the business side, the non-IT? Good. Okay, still shy. So we can learn all from the business people, okay? And for the IT folks, okay, it's important for us to now start embracing what is the perspectives from the business, okay? And it's very important for us to understand how actually the business and the digital actually jive. Okay? So today, I'll be sharing some of these slides presentation together with our experts and leaders. Okay, they'll be talking about the designing of the transformation journeys, okay, enterprise architecture, roadmaps, and how can we apply any tools that actually will turn our strategy into measurable outcome and also the results. Okay. So again, this event is brought to you by NTD Solution in collaboration with our partner, Evolution, and also our event sponsor. Okay. That is designed to spark our ideas, and hopefully we can have some engaging discussions, okay, throughout the sessions today. So I'll straight away start with my first presentation today, talking about designing your transformation journey with business transformation or business architecture. So who in this room are actually looking into business architecture? Oh, okay, wow. Okay, business architecture. Anybody doing business analysis, and so on? Okay? And very familiar, we are very much into application technology, like the IT side of it, right? Okay, wrong button. Okay, so today I'll be sharing a few of this agenda. Talking about how do we understand about business architecture. I think that the word business architecture might sound something new, but it's something that actually we do a lot in our day-to-day. Okay. So firstly, we'll be looking into the reality check in terms of the transformation. According to McKinsey, they say that 70% of the transformation do not make it. Okay, because of the misalignment of the priorities, still silo implementation of executions, okay, and also lack of a clear blueprint. When we talk about blueprint, it's talking about the entire business data application technology architectures of the vision for the targets. But of course, transformation without direction is like steering your organization without a compass. That it happens as and when it takes off. Okay? So it's driven by the flow of whoever is leading the transformation and so on. So it's very important in nowadays, digital is something that cannot be alienated. Okay? Is there any businesses that you can think of that resonate digital? Nasi lemak business? Still? Huh? Oh, QR, Okay, that's on the payment side, Okay, QR. So how do you order your foods nowadays? Those days we go to the restaurant, the cafes and so on. Nowadays the other way around. The cafe and the restaurants come to your house. Okay? So if you're not in that kind of business, in digital, so you'll be out of business as well. Okay? So we need to think about how do we reimagine the way we do businesses in the future. So that's talking about how we actually blend our technologies, emerging technologies into our business. And finally, we are saying that this is where business architecture comes in. Where actually it connects for all your strategy, execution, and also looking into how we can actually bridge our vision and in terms of capabilities and designing our businesses. So when people talk about transformation, at least now we know that using business architecture or enterprise architecture will give you a structured way to actually help you to do the transformation. If not, when people ask, how do you do your transformation? Have you thought about it? How do we go about doing transformation? Is there a framework that you use? You know, when coming up with a strategic plan, you have certain framework. So what framework do you use? Or have you heard about when you implement planning for strategic planning?
Business motivation model.
Okay, BMM, business motivation model. We use SWOT analysis, PESTEL, balance scorecard, and all those other frameworks. Okay. Yeah. So similarly, when we talk about transformation, so we can use like just now I heard somebody say TOGAF. Okay, it's a framework to handle the enterprise. So we'll be looking into what is the definition. Okay. So business architecture, although the word is called architecture and so on, it talks about things that you are familiar, which is your components in your organization. Okay, your organization structure, your strategy, your governance, okay, business processes, functions and so on. The things that all the business are taking care. Okay, that IT people don't take care. How about data? Is it business or IT?
Business.
Okay, so if you take the exam, you'll get full mark. Okay, so data is business, okay, because the one that keeps in the system is taken care of by the IT people. The data that is not in the IT systems, this is where it belongs to the business. Okay. Why do we need this business architecture? Because it gives you a comprehensive view, or we call it models. You can look into the entire model. When we talk about your business, how you run your business, what is the ecosystems of your business? Okay, what is this business comprises of? Okay, what are the key capabilities? What are the key processes? And how it actually runs its operations is actually highlighted. So if you want to transform, so you need to transform that, okay, from the current state, okay, where you are now, into the future state. So when people talk about designing your business services, your business processes and so on, this is where we look into business architecture. Okay. So for the IT people, of course we always ask the business people to tell us about their requirements. Okay. So gone are the days that it's all one way. So we need to work in partnership to also work together with the business people to help them to see how it can be done using digitalization, okay, using data-driven things and so on. Okay. So ultimately, we want to make sure that we are relevant in the future and we can continuously be more efficient and also effective. Okay, so when you talk about business, there are many items that's in the business architecture. The key items that we'll be looking into is the business capabilities. Okay, this represents the capabilities of your organization, how effectively it runs its business. What are the key capabilities that's needed to run your business current and also in the future. Okay. Next, you'll be looking into value stream and also the processes. Who do you think in your organization that knows about the entire end-to-end process within your organization? Which department does the best to know about everything in your organization? Yeah, PMO. Okay, so PMO.
EA.
EA. Okay. So if you have the EA department, PMO department, okay, fine. How about traditionally, who knows about the entire organization? HR, okay. Maybe HR just of course it knows about the entire organization structure, all the functional departments and so on. Okay, that's a good one. So normally this is where we get stuck. Okay, every department knows exactly what they do, but how does it start? Okay, where does it start? Okay, we take one example. Say for a bank, where does the process start? Which processes there? Where does it begin? What is the first process that takes place? Okay, customer end. Business. Okay. So in the bank, normally you need to develop your product. You need to identify your product. So it starts with your, of course, business strategy. And then it starts with the product. Okay, once you have already understand what product and services that you want to sell, you start doing your marketing. Okay, you need to promote what are you selling, what are you providing, and so on. So once you have done the marketing and so on, promotion, then you will start getting your customers. Your sales will take place. So that's where customer will come in. So once they become your customer, they register to have an account and so on, then you start serving them. So all the operations will take place, customer service, until the full cycles happen. Then the cycle goes on. You might improve your product, introduce new product and so on, so the entire cycle goes along. Similarly in your production and things like that, okay? So it has a value stream that you will go from start to end. And within this value stream, you have all the detailed processes and capabilities. Okay? And some of these business processes and capabilities is done internally. Some are also done externally by your partners, your outsource and things like that. So this is the full picture that you need to understand about the value stream. Okay. Any other things that you want to that you think that is within the business architecture which is not mentioned there? How about governance and things like that? Okay, so we have the core businesses. The value stream will actually highlight the core businesses, and it's supported by all these support services, okay, and also management services. Okay, so things like strategy, okay, governance, and so on comes under strategic management. All the other items like IT, finance, and so on, okay, it becomes your support services. Okay. Unless you are in the finance business, okay, then the finance will be some part of your core business as well. But again, still your support services, you need to understand how's your cost, okay, your revenue streams, and so on. So how do you go about your transformation journey? Okay. So simple. Typically, similarly like we do in any other businesses, you look at your current environment, and then you do some gap analysis, and then you look at the future. Okay. So similarly, it goes the same way. Okay. So you analyze all your current existing structures. So business architecture will give you a structured way, okay, to look into your organization, business capabilities, your value stream, the processes, the entire ecosystem. So you need to capture that and then model that so that you can understand what is your current situation. Okay? So once you have understood all your current situations and so on, then you can go ahead and look into the gaps. Okay? So typically in architecture, it will mention about identifying your gaps plus the opportunities. Why not just gaps? Okay? Because what will happen is once you identify a gap, say for instance you want to fully digitalize certain processes, okay, then you want to use say artificial intelligence to make decisions to help in terms of speeding up the processes. So you have identified the gap, so you have the initiative to do that, okay, fully digitalize and then look into AI. So besides filling up the gap, what are the new opportunities that you can churn from that particular investment or initiative? That's why we mentioned gaps and also opportunities. Okay. So this is the step that we do to assess your current environment. We call it, you need to diagnose your environment, okay, your organization. Okay. Next, you define the future. Okay, you design to understand where is the organization heading. So this is where the business architecture is very important, to have alignment with the business strategy of the organization. Okay. So which one comes first? Enterprise architecture or business strategy? Okay, 100% everybody got it right. Okay. So what happens when you want to do business architecture or enterprise architecture? The strategy is not clear or it's not well documented. or it's coming to an end towards a certain period cycle. So what happens?
Stalled. Stalled effort.
Yeah.
Things couldn't move because
Right.
it's not clear. It's a moving goalpost.
Yes. So before we really embark, we just revisit the stakeholders, check with them. Maybe you need to just take a step back, have a small focus group discussion or brainstorming just to address the strategy that you are looking into. Okay. So once we understand the future, okay, then also we need to know what we want to achieve and how we and what we are going to achieve when we want to be top in terms of our positioning, our revenue base, customer base, even our segment and so on. Then we can define all our architectures, okay, the target business architecture, and from the gaps and opportunities, okay, we come up with a roadmap. How are we going to implement, okay, by stages, or what are the initiatives that needs to be taken place in order for us to reach towards the vision and goals. So this is where we will design the future state and understand the roadmap in order to achieve it. It's very important, is always must be business driven. Okay? Although we are doing a lot of IT stuff, okay, AI nowadays with all this upgrading of infrastructure, going cloud and things like that, there's always a business purpose for it. Okay? What happens if the server goes down, if you don't go to cloud and things like that, if you don't embrace AI? What happens if you don't embrace AI? Does it matter? Cost a lot of money. Okay. No choice. It will come. Okay. Slowly, AI or any digitalization, it will come, and if you don't embrace it, you'll be left out. Okay. So we're looking into, when you start implementing this business architecture and transformation, do not forget, okay, how to handle the change. What happens? What are the key changes that will happen when we go for digitalization? Yeah? Okay, cost goes up or goes down? Goes up. Challenging, eh? Initially it will go up, but over long term it should be sustainable.
Yes, but it also means new revenue generating business models.
Okay. Then you might say more profit now. More revenue, even higher costs. So this is the language that we need to understand. This is what the language that the business are looking for. Okay. What happened to the people? More or less? Depends. There will be less people who are doing operational work. So what's going to happen to them? Okay. So this is something that we need to handle as well. Okay. There will be departments who are going to be no more available. You know what happened in JPJ? Nowadays you don't have to have your license or physical license or road tax, right? Okay. There's one department that takes care of this stock. You know, the stock. Yeah, there's one department handling this because it's a highly secured document or physical stock. So this department is gone. Okay, so there will be a role change, resources of reduction, but definitely there's reskill that needs to be done in new areas and so on. So these changes has to be handled as well. Okay, so this is also part of the business architecture, the way that we need to look into. Okay, so we need to work closely with our stakeholders. HR is very important department that we need to work. All the line of business that's impacted by the scope or the initiative is something that we need to work closely. Okay. We have to make sure that this plan is always communicated so that everybody sees the same thing. They sees the same direction, so that it can have good transparency and buy-in, so that everybody will know that this is the direction that we're going to go through. If they try to introduce something new and so on, then just go back to the blueprint and see where do they fit in. If it wants to be changed and so on, then let's do that. Okay. So this is where we will be developing, all these initiatives and implementing. So execution also happens here. Okay, after you design. And finally, you need to show the values. Okay, you need to measure your success. So what happens if you don't measure? You will launch your product, your systems, cut ribbon, celebrate. Done. Okay. Done. So whether it gives you the value that you promised earlier, so you need to start measuring lah. If you say that it will reduce the cost and so on, then it will show that yes, it reduces the cost. It gives you optimization, it gives you more profit and so on. So this is where you need to start measuring. So do not forget before and after. Measure before and measure after. If you only measure after, people will only remember the new measurement and they'll ask you more and more things. So previously it takes 3 months to do certain approvals. Now it's 1 month. So if you don't measure 3 months towards 1 month, people will always remember 1 month and they want 1 week, 1 hour, 1 minute, and so on. They want more and more. Okay. So it's very important for us to measure so that it will be data driven, it's factual and objective. Right? And also once you've done that, think about what is the next improvement that needs to be done. What are the new innovation, continuous improvement that actually can take place in terms of your businesses. Because things will change. Okay, things will improve. Like I mentioned, 3 months to 1 month, what's next? Okay, and so on. So this will give you a good way of running your organization to have high performance, innovation, continuous learning and so on. Okay? So as conclusion, what we are saying is business architecture is very important. Okay? Transformation without design or without certain structured way of doing things will be ending up in chaos. Business architecture is something that's very important for us to steer the way we do our transformation. Of course, the transformation has its own journey. Typically, the S is to be, you have your gap analysis, you have your roadmap. Do not forget about your change management. Okay, get them on board even when you do the designing phases and also the road mapping. And finally, start measuring your success and look for the next innovation. So with that, what can you do next? Is actually, we have a workshop that actually we plan to jumpstart how can you start your business transformation journey. So we have a workshop, architecting business transformation workshop. They will look into your framework, case studies, what are the things that actually you can look into how you transform your organization. It has a public class where you actually join together with the others, or you also can have very targeted specific area that you want to look into business transformation. Okay, so with that, I really thank you very much for your kind attention for this morning. Hopefully we will touch base again with more sessions coming in. Okay, so I thank you for your kind attention.